The National Association of Road Transport Owners, the umbrella body of transporters at the heart of Nigeria's supply and distribution business, has threatened to embark on strike as a result of high costs of their operations. Top on the list, according to the union, is the ever-increasing cost of diesel, which powers petrol tankers and which is part of the determinants of freight charges. The association's national president, Yusuf Lawal Othman, in a statement stated that members of his association now find it difficult to remain afloat because of the high freight rate, which is regulated and paid in arrears. He says members will be advised to ground their haulage tankers if nothing is done to address the matter. And for greater clarity on this, we're now being joined by Yusuf Lawal Othman, President of the National Association of Road Transport Owners. Welcome to the program. So why don't you tell us quickly a little bit about this freight rate that you talk about and why you're agitating for it to be increased?
Yeah, good afternoon, viewers. We are concerned about the high cost of operations, especially as it affects the diesel. You know, just a simple calculation, if you load within the Lagos Embarrass on every Embarrass from Lagos depot to the filling stations, the amount you are going to be paid is 2 naira 14 kobo per liter. So if you transfer 40,000 liters, you will be paid 85,600 liters per truck per trip. Meanwhile, your operational expense upfront, loading fees is 40,000. If you pay 100 liters to the driver to go and distribute the fuel, with the current rate of 400, that's 40,000. If you give the driver 5,000 as allowance for the day, so when you sum it all up, it's 85,000. And at the end of the day, you are going to be reimbursed 85,600. And that 85,600 is subject to tax of 7.5%. So at the end of the day, it's a net loss. And even this net loss will come after 5-6 months. So this is the situation on ground.
Now, already Nigerians are dealing with...
as you are...
I want to interrupt you to say that already Nigerians are dealing, with the issue of fuel scarcity due to the importation, of adulterated fuel. Isn't there a better way, in which you can make your demands known and reach an agreement rather than going on strike where ordinary Nigerians, will also bear the consequences?
Well, for clarity, NARTO is not threatening to go on strike. We're not issuing strike threats because we're investors in business. We are just allaying the fears of our members. I must confess to you, even before we decide to start pushing for all this, most of the members have parked their vehicles and a lot more are going to park because it doesn't really add up. If you look at it, I just gave an example yesterday. About 300 trucks were earmarked to load for one depot in Lagos to some of the filling stations. Unfortunately, only 15 trucks showed up. And those 15 trucks belong to the owners of the stations. So more or less, no one showed up because it's a net loss. Notwithstanding, we have not come out to say we are going on strike because we don't go on strike. It is our drivers for their demands and whatever, from time to time go on strike.
Okay, so just to clarify, you all won't be going on strike, but the drivers might be going on strike?
No, I'm not saying, because I don't speak for them, but I know there are a lot of demands. Towards the end of last year, there was we have some pending approvals with the defunct PPPRA as well as the PEF to review. There was an approval by the board of the PPPRA, which I belonged then, to jack up the freight to 9 naira 11 kobo. Then that way it will increase our freight rate. For whatever reason, it was supposed to have taken place with the full deregulation. Now the full deregulation has not taken effect, meaning that we are back to square one. Notwithstanding, I had an encounter directly with the authority chief executive, and he promised to take this up with the top-level officials of the government, and I believe it's going on. But the issue is now that we have high cost of operations, and like I said, it's a net loss. And this high cost is further increased by the just recent review of international prices of crude oil as well as the local price of the AGO. So these are the issues at stake. The issue of the bad fuel does not have any direct relationship with our issues, because the bad fuel that came to the best of my knowledge is just some fraction of the total fuel that was imported in the country. What I know, I have heard, is they have about 1.7 billion liters of fuel, out of which probably 5%, not more than 2 to 300 million, that is more or less, but that is more or less bad. But notwithstanding, I am not competent to talk about bad fuel because it's not my purview.
All right, but still yet, surely you must understand that, with regards to the incident of the contaminated fuel or the adulterated fuel that has complicated matters in terms of getting fuel and in terms of panic buying, surely your agitations at the moment regarding freight rate and some of your drivers going on strike, it's not the perfect timing at the moment, is it? Could you not have left matters until matters have settled down a bit before carrying on with the downstream and midstream petroleum authority?
Yeah, I said that NARTO is not going on strike. Our members are drivers are similarly not going on strike yet, because there is no such notice. But we are just looking at the operational cost of our business, which I have told you, as at today, is a net loss. So and you are doing business at a net loss, you will certainly not to do it. Bear in mind, as of today, the transportation of petroleum product is about 98% done by trucks, which means it's done by our members. And also, you bear in mind the purchase cost of a brand new vehicle, as we speak today, is more than 50 million naira per one. Tokumbo vehicle, that's fairly used, is more than 25 million naira per one. So if at the end of the day you deploy such huge amount, and at the end of the month you operate net loss, you can't continue such as a business. There has to be a general review of the operations, appreciate the contributions of our members towards the growth of the economy, as well as the need to ensure that we deviate from all this 100% more or less distribution. Because it does not help the economy, it does not help anyone. There has to be a general review, probably discussion or sitting down with the whole stakeholders. You see, the issue is not just, our problem is not just on the freight rate, but you see, a lot of issues with the roads. We appreciate the government, President Buhari, as well as the Minister of State, the GMD, as well as the Chairman, Federal Revenue Service. Were able to get approval for repair or building of roads, 621 billion, was able to reduce our sufferings. Because if you have a brand new vehicle, 50, 60 million, and you drive from Lagos probably to Abuja, or from Port Harcourt to Abuja, and vice versa, I would like to assure you, in 1, 2, 3 trips, you will have to take it to repairs because of the conditions of the road. So there are a lot more issues related to this business that we're doing. But at the end of the day, our major problem is no return on investment. And it's unfortunate it is happening, more or less simultaneously with this issue of bad fuel. But it's not related to the issue of bad fuel. It happens because if you are following closely, the increase of diesel sales in the market is happening simultaneously with this bad fuel. It's not because of the bad fuel that our members are complaining or strenuously paying. It's because of the high cost of diesel. More so, it's not just diesel. When you look at it, as at last year, we were buying tire Chinese tire, about average of 50,000. Today is 130,000. We are buying battery, 20,000. Today is 60,000. And all other spare parts, engine oil that we lube, that we buy for service, we were buying it last year about 20,000. A cake, now about 40,000. We were buying diesel 200 naira per liter, now 400 naira per liter. So the essence is that our operational costs are not regulated. Our payment is regulated and delayed for 5-6 months. I must confess to you, some of our members, in NARTO, we have members who operate wet cargo, that is the fuel. There are also who operate some members who carry grains and some others and containers. Those, they are paid upfront, instant, but the fuel on 5 months, 6 months.
Yusuf, for the sake of time, allow me to
at the same
interrupt.
market, everything
Yusuf,
is the same.
For the sake of time, allow me to interrupt. I think we have set the situation and we kind of understand exactly what you're discussing. The operation prices, operation costs are exponential and you all are not making money and the timing is bad. The question now is, what is the solution? What strategies can be done to offset these high operational costs and to also ease the suffering of the rest of the Nigerians who are currently going through multiple crises at the same time?
Yeah, what we can do is what we are currently doing. The authority chief executive has interfaced and we are interfacing with a view to see what best way we can come together and reduce the suffering. It is a fact that we are not making money. And of course, in the last few weeks, the managing director of the PPMC also has been carrying us along with the issues and we've been discussing. But the truth of the matter is that no decision is so far taken, because this is something they want us to do today. We need to convince our members, if they can, to load and discharge at a loss. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody really wants to do that. It's an issue that the top-level management in this sector should sit down and look at our cost vis-a-vis our income and see what is the best way to, take decision and ensure that fuel is supplied, in all crannies of the country. The decision is not our own. We are ready to cooperate. We are cooperating. We are not on strike. We will not be on strike. And we want ease of business for our members. That's the issue.
Now, there are speculations that what you're asking for is just a guise, for the federal government to increase the price of petrol. For instance, by asking for freight rates to be increased, won't that also trickle down to increasing the price of petroleum products, which will then affect the consumers?
We are not calling for increase of petroleum price. We are not calling for the increase because that's not our purview. It's the purview of the federal government and other related agencies based on conditions on ground. What we are concerned about increase of our freight rate, whichever way. They can do it inward, they can do it outward. It is the decision of the government inward, probably to look at that is what we used to do at the board of PPPRA, to look at some components and reduce and increase on outward will mean that they will probably have to increase the pump price, if people agree, 1 naira, 2 naira, to accommodate the increase, because our request is not more than probably 1 naira, 2 naira, 3 naira, or the increase, but that is not our decision. It is the decision of the top-level management. Our own is to present the case as it is, and we wait patiently and see what is the best way to ensure that it's smooth sailing.
All right, though, but you must have an idea regarding what will make your NARTO particularly happy in terms of some of the proposed solutions. What would really make your association happy? What would you be happy with in terms of what they come up with?
Well, as it is now, that is the way the situation we are in the country and probably all over the world because of this, a lot of issues. Nobody will in business palace will naturally be happy the way he likes. But the issue is at the same time, nobody would like to deploy such amount of millions and billions and will not expect to have some returns, no matter how minimal. We appreciate the situation. All we want is a situation where they look at our cost vis-a-vis what comes in and compare. Naturally, in every business palace, as I've told you, you expect some returns on investment. So they should look at it in the business way. What is it that is coming as a return? What's the percentage? The truth of the matter is that they have to increase the freight rate to be able to ensure that everything goes well for all the parties. It's unfortunate it is happening simultaneously with this bad fuel. And you see, as of today, the cost of crude oil is a benefit to the country as well, but at the same time, it's a cost, locally, because we import these products, we do not produce them locally. So importing them, of course, it's a lot of foreign reserve or whatever you call it, foreign currency. Then, because HGO diesel that we consume is not regulated, meaning that the sales will have to reflect the international pricing. So that, of course, impacts negatively on the operations of the transporters. As well, the cost of other items, the tire and everything, they're also not regulated. So if you operate in a situation where your rate payable is fixed and your expenditure is not fixed, naturally there is this issue. So maybe for the meantime, there is something to be done urgently. Then going forward, there has to be a concrete arrangement to avoid this quagmire.
President of the National Association of Road Transport Workers, thank you so much for coming, Yusuf Lawal Othman.